Welcome all to the, what is this, February's meeting of the Development Review Board for the town of Richmond. There's a sign-in sheet back there. Please sign in. Also, if you speak or offer evidence, either written or oral, on any of the applications that may qualify you to be what the state calls an interested party, that would give you the right to appeal any decision that we may or may not make. So if you have something to say, I'd urge you to say it when we get to the application. The normal order of things is that I'll let the applicant speak. And during that time, the DRB members may ask questions and so forth. And at some point, I will open each application up to the public, and you can say whatever you wish. But we have a fairly crowded and busy agenda tonight, so I'm going to try and move it right along, and hopefully we'll get all the way through it. If we don't, I'm going to reserve the right for the DRB to continue any hearings that we don't get to. So having said that, the first hearing is at what's called a sketch plan hearing. So it's not what we call a formal hearing. I don't swear anybody in. They aren't under oath when they tell us what they're going to do. And it's basically just a chance for them to discuss their proposal with the DRB and the DRB to ask them questions so that when they come back the next time, they'll be prepared. So the first matter on the agenda is Bradley and Karen LaRose. Applicants are requesting a sketch plan review for a 2-lot subdivision of 1.3 acres and 2.5 acres. So are the LaRoses here? Yeah. Why don't you come on up if you wish? So if you folks on the end speak, the microphone is there and you'll have to sort of move toward the microphone. Okay, thank you. What you got in mind, what you're gonna do?
Good evening, board. Jason Barnard and Jarvis. I'm here representing Mr. and Mrs. LaRose and their daughter, Natalie. We're here tonight for a 2-lot subdivision, 156 Wertheim Road. The property is approximately 3.8 acres in size. I don't know if Tyler can pull up the sketch plan.
Yep. Give me 1 second. All right, that's the application.
Yeah, I think it's the SK1, and I can walk the board through it.
That's not it. Hang on.
Whoops, nope. The sketch plan drawing would be down near the bottom of your screen.
Yep, sketch plan drawing.
Yep. There you go. Maybe zoom in a little bit. I can get the board oriented.
Yeah, just give me a sec. I'm gonna have to probably share my screen here so
Okay.
that people online can see it. So hang on a minute. Yeah. Everyone online see that okay?
Yes.
Perfect.
So, again, just to get the board oriented with the property location, 156 Wertheim Road is on the bottom of the screen, sort of running northwest, southeast. The existing LaRose driveway, as you can see with the light gray shading, and the existing 3-bedroom single-family home. As proposed, basically they'd be cutting off the rear portion of the lot. Lot 2 would be 2.5 acres in size. It would be conveyed to their daughter, who intends to build a house, single-family home on the rear part of the property, so that she has a parcel of her own and maintain that property, and also be there to take care of her parents in the future, and raise her own family. So there would not be any new road cuts associated with the property. The driveway would basically sort of veer off to the right and go around the easterly end of the existing home. You'll see the house that's shown. We have it is outside of the setbacks. The proposed subdivision line is in red. The two single-family homes are relatively close together. We do have a primary wastewater system identified for the new house. And we have a backup or replacement area set aside that would be for the existing property.
Where's the property line? I'm not picking it up.
The property line, David, is the black line, the solid black line. Right, I think, nope, just to the right of the drive. There you go. So we make the black line there's thicker. And then the subdivision line is the red line. If you want to,
That's what I was wondering,
Yeah.
where the lot lines.
It-
Getting it right.
yeah, you're going around the existing parcel, which is tax map base, and I'll get into a little bit more of that in a moment. But if you look where there's a blue dot, there's a drilled well, the property subdivision line is right next to that.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's basically running
I see it now.
parallel with the road.
Right.
It's a tight site, so we've taken this a little bit further than the normal sketch plan. We've actually, after doing the test pits, my survey crew went out and shot topo to make sure we could get a house in, a well in, and two wastewater systems in, which we have done. So we haven't completed the boundary survey yet. That's next based on the results of the sketch plan tonight. But we had to do a little bit more than our usual ortho-based LiDAR work to try to make everything so we could conclude that we could fit what we needed to back there to get a home permitted. Current zoning district allows for 1 acre. Both parcels will be 1 acre in size. There will be a deeded right-of-way that will serve, that is shown on the plans, and that will serve an access lot too.
Where are you on your septic, or have you applied for?
We haven't yet. We're a couple days away. Everything's sized and ready to go. We just have to see how sketch plan goes and then pull the trigger on that. Yeah, so we've done the calculations, the sizing, everything meets the regulations. We just haven't submitted the application yet.
Looks like you have some slopes to deal with on it.
We do in areas that are outside of, if you look at where our dashed survey hatch is, there are some slopes, but the slopes that we are working within are less than the 15%. So we're well below the criteria.
Good.
Yep. And then the topo lines outside of that dash survey area, that's all LiDAR based, but there are steeper slopes with the tighter contours, but we're plenty far away. The wastewater systems meet those isolations, as do the driveway in the home, the proposed house.
Well, it looks like you've done a lot of work for the sketch plan.
It's above and beyond because we weren't quite sure if we could fit something in, but we can.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Well, I just have one. When you come back, will you be sure that you include in your material a copy or draft of the deeded right away?
Sure,
And how you're working the maintenance and so forth. on it.
Yeah. absolutely. And that'll obviously be drafted by an attorney.
Is that the file that came through at the end of the day?
No,
No,
That was another project?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'll just look at it.
I just looked.
Or something came through with it.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe it's,
I was out at 3 o'clock. Okay.
that's for our other project.
David, do you have any questions?
I do not. I was going to ask about the language for the right of way, but we're a little premature for that, so I'm good.
Okay. Now I think we're comfortable with this, so, if you can give us a draft of the language that you're going to use for the easements and the shared maintenance.
Yeah, we still have to complete the boundary survey.
Right.
So the property lines that you see on there are tax map based. We still have to go
I
out.
know how accurate those are.
Yeah. Well, there may be some slight alterations when we get our survey done, but it's a good representation for the sketch plan.
Good. Okay, thank you. We'll see you when you do submit your preliminary application.
You got it?
You
Thank
want to
you.
see David, if you
sorry.
have any comments?
But we don't normally in sketch plans, but I'll entertain.
You want to go?
No, I was recognizing you.
Oh, thank you. Keith Engel. I've lived near the LaRoses forever. I've lived there for 42 years. I'm not sure how long you guys have lived there. Good neighbors. But I do have some questions and some concerns.
Fire away.
The first one, the biggest one is I'm concerned about runoff into the stream. My property's up in the top right-hand corner and we have a culvert, as does my neighbor further down the stream. His is washed out twice in the recent years. Mine washed out a number of years ago, but I've also had really close calls recently. And I'm concerned about the runoff and what that would do. And I wonder if that's been looked at and any.
It hasn't actually with sketch plan, Mr. Engel,
Okay.
but I'm just trying to look on, I guess you're on the upper right-hand
Yeah,
corner,
that's correct. And we have a culvert that our driveway goes over.
okay, so where exactly is your driveway related to the LaRose parcel?
The LaRose parcel, I believe, borders the stream. Is that, Brad, is that right?
The stream is the blue.
Well,
Not exactly.
not exactly. It's close though.
Close.
But you admit there could be more runoff down from the developed part. Perhaps. I don't know, but I'm really concerned about it. Extra runoff
So the,
into the.
So,
into the
I
culvert.
don't think they need to really, I welcome you to raise your concerns,
Okay,
but they can listen to your concerns and then come back with whatever.
that's fine. I
responses.
just want them out there. We're out there now, okay? I would have loved it if you guys talked to me before. I would have expressed them, not in this venue, but to you guys. And I have can I ask where I was looking at that map and there's a line where the current wooded area is and then the proposed cutback area, but I couldn't see it.
there's actually, we don't have proposed limits of clearing on this one.
Uh-huh.
You may be looking at, you talked
I was
about,
looking at the graph, the chart over in the side, and it's got those wavy lines that look like the C there. And one says, I can't read it from here.
yep, So-
Yeah, those there.
those are in our legend. Yeah, we don't have the limits of,
Okay.
we don't have the limits of clearing, but really all that would need to be cleared is right around where the house site is
Okay,
and where the proposed mound is for lot 2. So
yeah,
Is this a forested lot?
it's wooded, but it's relatively, I guess I would call it sparsely wooded. It's open back there. There's already an existing septic system back there.
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's the kind of thing I could, in the wintertime where it doesn't matter, I can see their house and I'm sure they can see my garage. In the summertime, we don't see much of each other. We could probably just hear each other, which is
Sure.
fine. I'd like to know how that affects the sight line, especially in the summertime would affect it. Maybe you and I can talk, Fred.
Yeah, I mean,
And we can talk about that.
I really would encourage.
And like I said, I would have done that if I'd known, but this was the first I knew about it,
It's a sketch plan.
Yeah, right. And
It's
I
not
didn't
even
know,
really
and I have no
one
problem with
period.
your daughter. I coached her, you and I coached together. Softball, I believe. Was it softball? It was a long time ago. We were both young.
I have quickly, can you scroll down and bring the top, just so I can get a sense of
Right here?
other direction? Yeah, just
Would you like me to zoom out?
I was gonna try to get a sense of where the culvert was.
I'd have to almost point it out.
Okay, and we
Want me to
can,
do that?
we can pick it up in our survey when we're.
Yeah, I mean, I
out
can
there.
point it out, but
I believe if you look at the blue line, that's the stream that goes, that's probably the culvert that,
Brad, is that the same stream?
No,
I didn't think so.
okay, different one.
You know better
Another
than I
one
do.
looks like right here,
Oh, there it is. Yep,
That's not, which one?
this little thing here, this looks like water to me.
that's a water course. Yeah, there's.
Yeah, but that's not the one.
No, the culvert is in the very back.
No, our culvert would be up in the right-hand corner.
No, I know, but
Oh,
what we call
the
the
stream.
ravine. It's called a ravine.
So
yeah.
like kind of down in here.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is.
So there will be a little more impervious area associated with this project, but on the grand scheme of things, it's really pretty minor.
Yeah, but not my grand scheme of things.
Right,
My grand scheme of things, we're pretty close to reaching capacity, it seems to me, on
right.
certain times, and
Right.
that's,
Just
Yeah.
just for clarification, it's okay if I come up here, right?
Sure.
Keith, your question has to do with this stream.
no, I don't think so. No, no. It has to do with the stream that runs, well, I thought it runs all the way.
Right here.
Yeah,
That's the one.
right down there.
The one that runs the,
This here.
I don't know what that one is.
Ravine.
So-
Was that?
So I would encourage you to afterwards speak sometime before they come back.
Brad, why don't you and I touch base at some point? I'm home all the time, by the way.
Okay.
Because I'm retired. I'll write down my number, okay? And then I don't mind walking.
Want to
out.
know what your concern was, which
Yeah, but I want to express what my concern was and, you know, I'm concerned about that and. You know, you get used to your privacy also and what that effect would have on our property value.
So you can, you know, I encourage you to discuss this with each other
Yeah,
and hopefully reach some conclusion before you come back.
and that would be great. I have no problem with that.
Okay,
You okay, Brad, with that?
well, yeah,
Okay, great. I'll write down my number on a piece of paper.
any other questions from the public or input? Nope. Okay, we'll see you soon.
And
Thank
for the
you.
folks out in the hallway, okay, well, here,
Come in and there's,
you come in just signing up here, and I would encourage everybody who's sitting in the audience to try and sit close. If there's an open seat next to you, try and sit closer to your neighbors, just so everybody gets a chance to sit. Gary.
Fine.
okay, next on the agenda, they're already up front. Gary and Jean Bressor, applicants are requesting conditional use approval to make changes to their property. These changes include the following: an additional 82 square feet to the second floor of the building. So, folks out in the hall,
I'll take care of it.
thank you.
right.
Second floor of the building, a first floor, a room for a half bath, door hood, and building stairs and so forth. So let me swear you in. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Good. Why don't you tell us what you have in mind?
All right, so you want to get the site plan up, or is that what you want to work from?
Sure.
All right,
Sure, give me 1 second.
sure. Actually, Brad, can we start with this? No, not Brad.
Yeah. That's all right, give me 1 second.
Tyler.
here. Let's see. This is the one here.
The south elevation.
I think they're all. in one here. You let me know this one
Yeah,
here, Gary,
that one there.
this one?
All right, so, what brought us back was once we started framing and working out on the addition, originally was gonna follow that kind of felt box roof line, but then it's such a terrific view, we decided we wanted to add a shed dormer in a portion of that felt box roof. What we had permitted before was within the red, but only up to the hash line. I didn't permit that last 5-foot strip because there wasn't enough headroom to use anything inside. So that is really what brought us back here. And then because I end up coming way too often, I tried to think of everything else that we might want to do. So now if you could bring up this site plan.
Full one, Gary.
It's the big one, yeah.
Let's see here, where's that one?
All right, so starting from the left, there's that little square 5-foot by 6-foot tucked in the corner, closer to the bridge, but mostly out of sight, all the way to the left. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd like to add a second or a half bath there. We thought we were gonna incorporate that and the addition we were putting on, but the ledge, the way the ledge, worked, it didn't work to fit it in there, so we're like to add that. And then, we ended up pouring the foundation, even with the foundation on the right-hand side of the addition, poured at the same elevation as the other approved, structure. And that, so we thought it'd be nice to put a patio in between.
Where exactly is that going? Right there. Okay.
Yeah, there and some of it on the other side of the, what is crossed out as the previously approved connector. That's what's kind of hashed out. It's what had been approved in the past, and what we're proposing is to that red strip between the two structures, that would be, we'd like to do something that was approved on the end of Pleasant Street. When Don Moran came in, maybe you could flip that picture up.
I think that's right here.
Yeah, so I'm sure some of you remember what you approved there. It was,
Which time was that when you came?
no, this isn't me.
Yeah, we were there for that.
We were here for it, but it was when Don built the two units
Right.
at the end of.
Yep.
And then to get a certificate of occupancy, he had to connect them. So what he did was, put a storage facility where he keeps the garbage cans under a roof there. So it makes more sense to us than what we previously had approved, which was a covered walkway between the two structures. We'd rather have that open and do this to meet the requirements for a duplex. And then we go back to the big site plan. There we go. I have stairs written in, and because we need to get from the sidewalk up to the entrance to the addition and the entrance to the other approved structure. So, and then the last thing, something I wanted to go into a little more detail on. Before I do, I did read Tyler's staff report. One thing he mentioned is more information on whether we're over 10% lot coverage, which we're not. We're at around 3.5%. Our lot is 9 acres along the river, and they're allowed 10% coverage. So under that, we would be allowed 9/10 of an acre. So even if we included the whole soccer field area, in terms of making that impervious, we'd still be under the 9/10 of an acre. So we're changing, when you put it on a 9-acre lot, our changes are really minuscule in terms of changing the lot coverage.
I think it's 30% coverage, right?
Well, it's not, it's because of it's that shoreline protection district too. It also has different coverage requirement.
Oh, okay. So the last thing is, our proposal was to take the sidewalk that is shown from the driveway and runs up to the house and to widen it out. And the main reason for doing that is that when we go to work on this house, once the construction is done, anytime we want to paint it, we're going to want to do it from a self-propelled construction lift. And those units for this, where it would sit, would require a 60-foot lift. And those have an 8-foot wheelbase and they weigh 25,000 pounds, depending on the manufacturer. So, I just want to have in a base there that could not ruin my lawn every time I needed to paint the house. Now, in the staff report, Tyler reviewed that as a driveway, so it's going to be up to you to decide. I don't view it as a driveway. The only time we're going to use it is for the construction lift. Occasionally when we have loads, I've been using that quite a bit right now because I am buying building material nearly every day and working on the place. But we don't intend to make it our driveway. The only other time I mentioned that we use it as, you know, our driveway floods maybe once every other year for a night, and we park our car up there to get out of the flood water. But there's no intent to turn that into a driveway. We're happy with the driveway we have. So I think that is everything I asked for.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I have a question. The two structures that you proposed to be a duplex, when did we approve that? How long ago was that?
When you were a young kid.
Oh, it must have been a long, long time ago. I didn't know they had pencils.
It was I think he listed. In one
Well,
of
it
the-
doesn't matter. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was at least 10 years
Oh,
ago.
my goodness.
Yeah.
So is that gonna be is that a duplex? Is that the whole idea, that structure?
Yeah.
All right, and attaching it to the main house, does that make it a triplex? I don't understand.
No, the main house is a single family house.
Right, I know that, but you have that, you have the connector,
Well, the connector is just probably 4 feet deep by,
but it's
20
not,
feet.
it doesn't serve the purpose to make your main house into a duplex.
yeah, that is under current zoning, they have to be connected.
Okay, so that's what my question is, and okay, you answered my question. So you actually have, okay, I get it.
Anybody else? Questions? I'll open it up to the public. Are there any questions from the public? Nope. And anything else from the applicant?
No.
I'd entertain a motion. What would the board like to do? You want to approve it or you want to go into executive session?
I'd suggest executive sessions. We can discuss the driveway element. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so Roger, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Patrick, you're gonna motion for deliberative.
second? All in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
Aye.
And we're giving you, and we have 45 days to make a decision. Right. We'll try to do it much sooner than that.
Okay.
Yeah, because you know, I run a tight building schedule.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. By the time we issue the decision, you might be back in again. I'm not gonna say, if there's an award for frequent, I'm not saying you would win it, but you'd be pretty close.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Bye, Gene. Okay, next on the agenda
Come on up, guys.
is
Caterpillar.
Caterpillar, George Milton Building. Applicants are requesting conditional use approval for phase 3 of the previously approved expansion of the Jordan Milton facility, consisting of a 7,160 square foot service bay. Welcome. Let me swear you in. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but truth.
Absolutely, sir.
What? Tell us what you have in mind.
Good evening. My name is Joe Goodspeed, with Doane's Construction representing Milton Cat. This here is Cody Stearns, one of the store managers over there. Here to present the project, and More or less, as the application is stated, this project was presented to the board roughly 10 years ago. Potentially a little bit longer. I think it was 2010, if I remember correctly, and there was approval granted at that time. Or we've since not done the project. That phase was not completed as part of a decision from the owner, as far as financial and things like that. So they paused it for now and looking to start it back up based on their growth over there. And since we have expired, we're here presenting back in front of you guys with the recognition that times past, things have changed, and want to just make sure we're crossing all our T's and dotting all of our I's and got your approval to move forward.
So before you get ready, you finished the other two phases.
Correct. The other two phases of that project that was approved have been completed and closed out, as well as Act 250 members. So the crux of the job, the proposal is that we have two existing buildings. I don't know, Tyler, if you could bring up our.
Yep, give me 1 minute. You want me to
Same
I just
here.
have to share the screen again. Just hang on a minute.
Sure. Two. And if you go to C101 for now.
101,
C 101, right?
Yep.
go back up.
Yep.
Or down.
There you go. All right, so that's representative of the existing conditions currently. The hashed in area is the space in between the existing buildings. So to the left is the primary machine bays, showroom area, warehouse area, and all that. And to the right is a utility building that houses their some service areas as well as a wash area. The area in between currently is an impervious area that is concrete that kind of joins the two, and there's concrete aprons, as you can see, all the way around. So we're not impacting existing impervious on that. And as stated previously, part of the original plan when designing this building was to leave an option for joining them all together down the road. So that's why it was kind of designed that way. And if you were to enter into the buildings and look at the structure and everything, you can see everything clearly lines up between the two, height wise and everything. So that was the initial intent. Again, at the time was decided not to proceed, and now they're looking to move forward with this project. So our intent would be to remove all the existing concrete that's in that area so that we can match up interior slab grades, erect a pre-engineered metal building structure to join the two, and replace concrete slab that is in line with everything on the interior, and whatever concrete is disturbed on the exterior, replace, put back into working order for the function of the store. So that's the main portion of this project. If you think on which one do you need? The 102, the next page. So that kind of shows the end results and lists out all the basics of the work. We do also propose a canopy to the bottom, off to the bottom side of what is existing parts warehouse area.
Right here.
Correct. That is being proposed because that area has become somewhat of a safety hazard for the employees as well as customers that utilize that area, in the sense that a lot of ice and water, snow sheds off the roof in that area. And there's been attempts to mitigate that by putting some lean-to structures and things like that over doorways and main travel areas. However, not quite sufficient in our eyes as well as Caterpillar's eyes in this as it relates to their safety policies. And so we're looking to place that canopy over there that basically it's a lean-to type shed that would shed into an existing swale drainage area and not impact any of the travel ways or anything of that sort. So That's the other piece of the project that we are looking to add to what was originally approved. Other than that, it's I think pretty cut and dry on that. The landscaping was developed for the project and installed as such. In keeping in mind that this was part of phase 3. So all of the existing landscaping requirements at that time and everything were met as if this project were to happen. And is existing on site currently.
You're not changing wastewater?
Nope.
Not doing anything?
It all was designed as if this was gonna happen originally. We're actually actively going through the Act 250 process with them. And filling out all the applications and submitting all the data that's been requested. And thus far, it's been recognized that we meet the criterion of today's rules.
You need a further amendment to your Act 250.
Correct. That's what they're asking for right now. So, and then other sheets within our submittal to kind of support the documentation of what we're looking at. Building height, 33 feet to the ridge, 28 to the eave.
Down, right?
Yeah, right here. There, you can kind of see the elevation of that canopy that we're proposing as well. And then, yes, between those two dashed lines is where that addition would be. Purpose for it basically is the current usage of what they have now and the current customer flow that they have now. A lot of them have to wait much longer for repairs on their equipment than anybody would like. So just kind of need more space for working on equipment that flows through there.
So the new one would be between the two dash lines.
Correct. Yep.
Those two bays.
Yep.
So it's just an open,
Right now, yeah, it's an open thoroughfare that's covered in concrete.
Our service techs parked there.
Yeah.
So.
We have, there's some pallets of random parts that are stored there, like buckets and things, just because it's a free space at the moment. However, the intent is to utilize this space for repair and kind of rework some in the existing area to take those parts and things that have overflowed outside back inside. So, Tyler?
David, I just had one question for Joe. So I guess when I wrote my staff notes.
Yep.
I guess I was under the impression that, so because how I kind of approach the landscaping question is that, looking at this phase 3 as its own deal, essentially. Technically, you're supposed to have, as we kind of went over, a certain percentage of the construction cost in landscaping for that. So I guess I think the only thing that what that note was basically based on was I didn't realize that you would have essentially paid for the landscaping for
yeah.
the entire thing as it was. So I think just for me, for assuming they approve it for like a zoning permit or something like that, I would just need to see documentation that whatever the final cost was for you to build the whole thing. Sure. Here's the final cost for the landscaping and that you've met that, but that would be it.
Sure, absolutely.
So that was kind of what that note was based on.
I'll work to dig that one up.
What about the other items that you have on your list, on the staff report list?
there's the bike rack issue.
Yeah, there's that. So you just kind of technically, if you have 15 spaces or more, you're supposed to provide a bike rack. So what you would do in the parking requirements.
That seems like a real easy thing.
Yeah, well, they can just, you could just basically, are you requesting a waiver to that?
Yeah,
Okay.
You have any bike riders there?
yeah, we can definitely make that happen. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't think, nobody really rides there, but, it's not.
Well, if you don't want it, you can
customers.
Yeah, we can do, yeah.
Pick
I
up
think-
their equipment, they don't ride.
Yeah.
We got a couple that live pretty close. Dave in the back actually lives right down the road. He might. Yeah,
So just for for the records, guys, for the minutes, are you guys requesting a waiver for that, or were you gonna put
Yes.
the bike?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're gonna request a waiver for it.
thank you.
And the lighting plan and
Yeah, that was another thing is technically, because once you look at it, you look at the whole, I look at the whole thing, even though you're not really, the parking and stuff like that's already there. I just wasn't sure with that, whether or not you'd had like a lighting plan or anything like that ever done for it.
There is an older photometrics, I believe.
If you could
I
just,
have seen.
I would just send that, like,
Okay.
I guess to go do it.
And our intent obviously is not to add any lights as part of this project, so it should still suffice, I would imagine, so on it, so.
Really, and that was just for your guys's thing. If you're not concerned about it, then
No, I
Don't
mean,
have- we don't have to-
you're saying to us that the lighting plan that you established with phase 1 and 2 is not being changed.
Correct.
Nope. Anything from the public? If someone out there is asking do they indicate to you?
let me just stop sharing here and see if anybody, if anybody online wants to comment, now would be the time.
Okay. What would we like to do on this?
I move we approve in accordance with the zoning administrator's recommendations, most of which have been complied with, and we waive the bike rack requirement.
With second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Thank you, David.
You seconded, correct?
Okay.
I'm still here.
Close the hearing. We've approved it. We will issue a decision within 45 days.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Good.
Okay, next on the agenda is TD Bank, property, the former TD Bank property. They're seeking a site plan approval for the remodeling of the property at 23 Pleasant Street, as well as changes to the landscaping and parking. Who do we have here?
My name is Paul Simon. I'm with Park Architecture. We're the landscape architect, and with me tonight is Tom Bachman with GBA Architecture. So
Okay, let me
We'll be
swear
presenting.
you in. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but truth.
I do.
Okay, why don't you tell us what you have in mind here?
Right. Carol, if you don't mind pulling up, I guess, the
Nope, that
site
seems to be the
plan,
trend tonight.
appreciate that. And I'll just read the.
By the way, I
narrative.
want to tell you, I thought your application was fairly complete.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do site plan part 1, I think we'll start with, and if I need something else, I'll jump around. Let me just share it again here. Give me one moment.
So tonight we're pleased to submit a site plan review application on behalf of the owner of 23 Pleasant Street LLC and Northfield Savings Bank as the applicant. And yes, it's the former TD Bank property. The site plans include building and site renovations of an existing bank use located at 23 Pleasant Street. The proposed principal use shall continue as a branch banking facility for Northfield Savings Bank. A bank is an allowable use in the village downtown district. Plans include exterior facade renovations to the existing building, exterior lighting upgrades, minor upgrades to the existing vehicular circulation route, renovated parking, lighting, and drive-through improvements. In addition, the plans include new ADA accessibility improvements, walkway and hardscape improvements, fencing, and new landscaping. It should be noted that there's no building addition proposed. In summary of that, it's really a cosmetic renovation that we're looking at. We're not proposing any new impervious area. We're actually reducing the impervious area and just upgrading and repainting, striping, and painting the building, replacing fencing and whatnot.
Like you're doing a little bit of work inside now.
Yes.
A lot of work inside.
Under a separate permit. So the property is located in the village downtown district, as identified in section 3.10 of the town regulations. The purpose of the village downtown mixed use district is to provide a district that encompasses the existing village core area and supports employment, light industry, commercial enterprises, community gathering spaces, dense and affordable housing, and other compatible uses that bring value to the community and maintain Richmond's unique sense of place. We believe this application, the proposed site improvements, and use suitably fits into the vision for Richmond as described in the Richmond Town Plan and defined in criteria 3.10 for the Village Downtown District. The time period for completion of the project includes a project start date of April 2023 for the exterior construction activities and site renovations, and will be ending sometime in August 2023. All right. The cosmetic site improvements include also ADA accessibility improvements, various site details, exterior lighting improvements, landscaping, and we're also making sure we meet those landscape cost requirements as part of the application. So if you can turn to this sheet here compares existing impervious area on the left versus proposed impervious area on the right. We're actually reducing it slightly. The bright orange color obviously is the building envelope, and then the site pavement is the brownish color.
Where does the reduction occur?
In several places, they're very small places. So for the largest is probably at the entrance, that L-shaped portion of the building. On the right, actually, Tyler, if you get, right of that, no, at the front entrance of the building, the
Right there.
pedestrian entrance, the corner.
Yeah, right there, sorry.
Yeah. So that is all impervious right now, and what we plan to do is enhance the walkway there, and you'll see on the architectural elevations too, that we're taking down the picket type fencing that's kind of a blockade to the building and opening it up, so visually it's more appealing and inviting. In addition, we're widening the concrete sidewalk there, so you can see underneath the orange color of the building, there's the existing walkway, which will remain, but we're gonna marry up with that at, at a level grade with the proposed concrete walkway. But we're also adding in some new landscaping on the left there, just lawn area and some plantings to the left of that. So we're actually changing that. And then the island that you were first putting a circle around is changed as well. There's actually the ADA route that exists right now. You can see the paint striping there is kind of odd. It goes to a walkway and then the walkway steps down right to Bridge Street. So it's not really compliant to ADA. There's no reason to have that walk. So we're removing that impervious surface there of that concrete walk and the steps and just taking it out. And then we're slightly changing that landscape island to put new curbing in, and you can see how it changes. And then what we're doing is aligning that ADA walk so that it's just more streamlined to the space. So you can see the difference on the left and the right there with that. And then there's other slight changes too on impervious area, but like the bottom left corner here, what we're doing is there's just a large parking space. And what we're doing is changing and making that space a little bit bigger and so that it helps direct the car parking better and improve the vehicular access a bit, as well as enhance more landscape space to the site. If you don't mind going to the next slide too, we can show you existing. This is kind of the existing conditions and site preparation plan. Or this is the layout plan actually. So this is all the proposed. And then if you just go to the next one too, you'll see the color version of that. It's probably easier to read. So we're actually removing the tree that's dying in the back, and we're replacing it with a Vermont native white birch tree. We're replacing and enhancing the lawn area on the north side as well. And then we're adding in a lot of landscaping that is indigenous to the area and also lower maintenance and salt tolerant, good for a Vermont urban environment.
So my office has been across the street from this building for a long time. On the upper side, the north side, when it rains hard, it always puddled up there. Are you gonna do something to
Well, we're removing it, on our first plan, our first sheet where we talked about the existing conditions, there is a mounded area up there that's kind of trapping that water. We're removing that debris, if you will, because it's actually becoming like an impervious surface. We met with Tyler on the site too, and we said, the best thing to do here is to bring the lawn back as it should be there, because that's what was there. So that large green space you see with the white birch tree
Cover that area that was
is
flooded.
that area. So that will open that up, stop the blockage too, so that the water can infiltrate into the lawn area.
Between the lawn area and the northern border is paved, is that correct?
Yes.
But is that accessible pavement? I mean, you picture a car there, can you drive back there?
Yeah, it's a vehicular easement.
Right, and so, in your traffic flow, how would you, and for what purpose? I guess you'd have to go in there, go around the building and out onto Pleasant Street. I'm just thinking about it's great to have this landscaping in the front. It will look much better, but some of the things you propose, like forsythia, and can get pretty tall. And I'm wondering if it's going to be a site problem coming out on Pleasant Street. And maybe I'm just wrong about that, but I think that you're going to have two exits onto Pleasant Street. Well, actually, one is wide open to Pleasant Street. There's nobody parked there, but anyway, that was my concern, that perhaps there would be some blockage of people trying to get out.
Yeah, the most extreme exit on the right.
Yeah.
We did look at that. There's an existing fence there. We're going to be replacing that fence. And a car pulls quite a bit ahead of the fence, so you're going to have good sight lines there.
I mean, I can't see by looking at that, but that's fine. I'm taking that into consideration.
The next sheets, A 200 and 201.
Further down.
I think further down will be.
No, yeah, hang on a second. I had a two-part this one.
Oh,
This is
okay.
a pretty big file.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can see it. Hang on.
I'd like to show you the architectural improvements as well.
This one here.
Well, that's the lighting plan. But then after that, it should be, and then keep going.
Say one.
Right there, that one. Tommy, you can talk.
Sure. I mean, you can see, as we mentioned, the interior of the building is being completely renovated. It's being upgraded thermally and all new layout, but the exterior finishes or changes are pretty minor. Basically, what we're proposing to do is paint all of the trim that is now white will be painted white again. The gable ends will be the dark gray that's shown up there. On the, this is the north elevation, we will be putting up a fence. It's a 4-foot fence. That's going to screen new compressors and things like that associated with the heating system. On the, I mean, you can look at, if you look at the photo up above, you can see the existing conditions, and it's a mess now. There's stuff all over that wall. So we're trying to clean that up as much as we can, locate new equipment back there, and then add a 4-foot fence to really soften that. On the south elevation, the drive-through remains exactly as it is. Again, everything that's white would be white, except the horizontal and the vertical trim in the gable ends is going to be painted a dark gray. Any of the exterior doors that are metal are going to be painted basically a brick red to make those disappear. They're not used for public. We've got, the front door is on facing the street. We are proposing taking down, if you look at the bottom left-hand photo, there's a picket fence and some additional intermediate verticals that basically just make the building pretty uninviting. So we're taking that down to open up the porch. And as Paul had mentioned, right there to the left photo, that right now is an impervious area. That's going to become the main approach to the building, and that will be landscape. One other exterior change, if you look at the bottom photos, the most bottom, that one on the right there. There's a very odd detail that this roof extended out past the building. That little triangle piece is going to be moved back, and the reason for that is security, so that NSB can locate their security cameras and the views are not blocked by that. So basically, that's just moving back about 8 inches and be in line with the brick. Let me see, the satellite dish is coming down. So I think everything they're doing to the exterior is, it's not major, but I think it's a big improvement. And if you go to the next photo, we can, or the next page, again, just two different views. Again, if you look at the west elevation, the pickets are coming down, again, trying to make the building a little friendlier and a little more inviting. The east elevation, I don't believe there are any changes proposed, other than the contractor is going around the building. There's some of the brick that's damaged. It's going to be repointed. A couple odd openings in the building the brick will be toothed in. So the exterior changes architecturally are very, very minor. Almost all of our emphasis was on the interior of the building.
We don't go to anything else, guys?
If I could briefly talk about the lighting plan, we're basically replacing the existing lighting in place with new LED fixtures that in accordance with IESNA as well for downcast illumination. Even there's one sconce on that north side that just is like your Home Depot type that just illuminates out. That's gonna be a new downcast fixture as well. We included all the lighting spec cut sheets in the package. I guess in summary, I think our overall goal is to provide a welcoming and colorful palette that's inviting to the community in terms of the landscaping, and will be low maintenance once these plantings establish. And to that end, we've included a diversity of the plantings and Vermont native species. We believe the plans as proposed will work well to meet the vision of the town standards as well, and in addition, provide a beneficial landscape that will enhance the village downtown district. So.
And I do just want to make one comment. We do a lot of work for Northfield Savings Bank. Over the years, we've done a lot of projects for them. And there's pretty extensive landscaping here, and NSB does a remarkable job of maintaining that. So it's not going to look good for the first 2 months, then just get overgrown. I mean, their buildings are very well maintained. So I think it's going to be a really big improvement to what you see there on site now.
Are you proposing to keep the same sign outside there?
They're going to be replacing the sign, but that will be another application.
Okay.
That's
Will it be in the same place?
the intent. I think it's going to move maybe a foot closer this way
Toward the
it's
building.
Toward the building.
And then I think you talked about it, but just to as you're facing the building to the right of the sign, there are these little steps that go down, you're taking those out?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we understand the town has some plan at some point possibly to extend that sidewalk along there. So we're assuming
That those part of the parking is in the town, like, is in a little bit of it's in the right of way. So there are plans, I talked to Revy before he left, there are plans at some point to put sidewalk up through there. So there originally, when we talked about kind of replacing the concrete kind of parking barriers there and putting a nice fence and all that sort of stuff, the issue would have been in the town right of way. So they opted just to basically kind of maintain what's there, move it back a little bit, so it's all on their property, not in the right of way. So I believe those steps would come out as a result of that, or.
and at some point the town did put that sidewalk in. There's a possibility that we would want to work to do something, a better barrier for cars than just those concrete curbs that are there now. But I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that would be.
So you're gonna leave those curbs there right now?
They're going to be reattached and a little heftier than that.
Okay.
Tyler, if you don't mind scrolling back to the landscape plan, just to, I think it's one more up, just to have that as a, probably the
Sorry,
best.
hang on a minute here.
Yeah,
Get there.
there you go. Probably the best one as a reference for your questions, I guess.
Any questions from the board?
I have just a quick question. I know it's not required, but has the applicant considered a bike rack on the site plan? I think it'd be like a useful thing that probably wouldn't be too difficult. Is that a possibility?
Great question. I probably should have talked about it. There's an existing bike rack. We're just relocating it. So it is right near where the handicap walkway meets the building. And so it's in the way for pedestrians. It's also in the way for vehicular use. So we're moving that bike rack to the north side of the building. It's a relocated bike rack location there.
Thank you.
Great. Anything from the public? Yes, sir.
Bill Ashel, 44 Pleasant Street. Two quick questions. One, the fence you're gonna replace for the property to the east, is that gonna look very similar? Is it gonna be chain link fence, kind of like what's there? What's that fence gonna look like? Sure.
And it's tiny.
Yes, great question. So we've got one type of fence that we're proposing. It'll be a solid panel fence. And it'll be painted the same gray color that is being proposed on the building too. And there's the 4-foot wooden one on the north side that's screening the equipment. We're doing 6 feet on that east side. And if you can, Tyler, if you can scroll to the detail sheet, which we haven't really shown you yet either, but that'll show the
Further down here, Paul.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Right there. Yep. So you can see the details, and we also included a photo of the look, although that photo is showing a white fence, but we included the swatch of the same swatch we grabbed from these guys for the gray color. Yeah. Oh, and there's a community garden bed that I mean, I call it community garden bed, but it's a raised garden bed that'll be on the north side as well in that green space. So. Yes.
And the second, real quick, the lighting, just, for me, it's too bright, it's there already. I know I live in the village, but what, compared to like what it was?
Sure.
Can you give me a little bit more? You did say there's more down lighting.
So under our ordinance, the light shouldn't go over the lot lines.
Right, okay.
Right, and it doesn't, you'll see our photometric plan brings it back to 0. In addition to that, with the new lighting standards, we're basically like, for instance, when we replace the pocket lights, the nice thing is there's a great large overhang, which is gonna help cut things off as well. But the new lighting standards, you know, we're specifying this hyperbolic type edge. So what it does is it controls the light and controls the direction of the light. So it's, you can see on the right image, it's the old type fixture where the light just bounces and you can see that glare. The new fixture types will be replaced in the same location, but they're going to be with the new style that really helps control. Plus, they're dimmable as well. So, yeah.
And what's your plan for when the lighting will be on it in the evenings?
That's actually a question for Sherry, I
Yeah,
guess.
we haven't finalized all that yet. We're working through all that.
Sherry's with Northfield Savings Bank.
So
Oh, yeah.
often what we've done with commercial property in the village, because people in the village don't want the lights on all the time
Are you talking outside or inside? I'm sorry.
outside.
Oh, okay, that's what I
And
thought.
we're encouraging, if you need them for security, which is usually what people want, that they might be on a motion control system where, is that the correct word? Motion control?
Motion sensor. Yeah.
Motion sensor, right, and then they'll come back off after they've been triggered.
Now, they do have an ATM in their lobby that will be open 24.
That will be open. That
Yeah, so part of the security issues, they wanted to make sure those porch lights were on to always direct people into that 24-hour ATM.
Oh, good, the ATM's gonna come back.
Yes.
Any other questions from the public? Denise?
I'm sorry, Denise Barnard, I own the building across the street and also business Bridge Street Air. If you go back to the other one, the other picture where in the bottom left-hand corner was the building as it stands now. I think it's other way, maybe not.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So David alluded to the fact where it puddles. I've been across the street for 22 years and when it rains. But right under that first covered porchway, it was nothing to have like 6 inches of rain on the pavement, on the walkway. And, is that what the piece you were talking about,
Yes.
David?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, and then the other question I have, and I know it's nothing to do with your site plan, but 6 parking spaces for customers, 1 handicap, 5 others, is that true?
Right, we're required to have 1 handicap space, and then I think I did a breakout of the required spaces that the town has a required number of spaces.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's on, hang on a minute, it might be on.
I think it's on the landscape plan.
I think it's on the, hang on a minute, maybe it's this one.
Just
Yeah.
curious.
I'm curious now too.
Yeah.
I know we're meeting it, I just don't remember the numbers on it, so. Yeah, parking requirements there, can zoom into that part of it, maybe.
9.
Yeah, try to.
7.
Yeah.
9.
I,
And then you show-
I know we're over it,
Okay,
so.
perfect.
Yeah, it's like 7.9 required, and I think we're 9.
9,
Yeah.
perfect. And in the back, I still am confused. Is it gonna be a one-way like it currently is?
The back, you mean the east side or,
That-
yeah,
Right there, that car right there?
so,
That's the north side.
yeah, that's the north side there. I believe it's a 2-way easement, but you know, you can really only fit 1 car direction of travel, I believe, just based on the dimension of it, but, it's not, the flow for NSB is really not there. It's really to direct cars down the south side, west and south side, and then out to Pleasant Street. So if you went through the drive-through, you'd be turning out onto Pleasant Street. So we're not focused on vehicular access on either of those 2 sides, really.
Okay, because currently, before, when TD Bank was there,
That's
it got really dangerous sometimes, because people were coming in and they were going out the same way, even though they tried to have it one way. So, and I just wanted to make that comment.
And that's why we're also adding the directional arrows, the pavement arrows, to help
Great.
inform people.
And I love the new walkway, because those 3 little steps in front of the door, people would cross the road, not at the crosswalk.
Right.
I'm one of those offenders. remember?
You aren't the only one.
So, thank you.
Any other questions from the public? Yes, sir.
I'm coming up Zachary and 45 Bridge Street. I was wondering, do you have an email address I could send a file to put something up in the student?
Hang on a minute. Yeah, I do. It's T as in Tom, Macia, MACHIA, at richmondbt.gov. There's seats, Jared.
I'm just. While that's going through, just to mention, I'm a resident of Richmond, Vermont, on 45 Bridge Street. My family maintains a small business in town for many decades. Trying to be reasonable and respectable. And respectful of everybody's rights. We were hoping to discuss some of the proposed changes to the site. Because we do have some concerns that we think could probably. What I sent to you is actually a Word file with links.
This one here. So I got, this is the email.
Yeah.
So which, open this one? Looks like it's just, is it just the one attachment?
Yeah, there's links inside the attachment. And the links are pretty much to photographic and video evidence of flooding conditions that we're already dealing with. Including water ingressing into our basement during moderate to severe storm conditions. And I think that, the combined result of the proposed and the existing use, the combination of that would probably, constitute an adverse effect to our property. And I think that those should be conditioned any approval for the site plan. And we've also.
Do you have an engineer that has looked at the property and come up with a plan?
I do.
Would you submit that?
Let me just clarify. My name is Jim Carroll. I'm helping Comoros. The engineering is on the adverse weather conditions. The solutions are not in our engineering. So We do have some ideas that we'd like to present tonight that we think would be, that I've tried. We did not get notice on a timely basis, so I caught up with Paul. He has not had a chance to deal with it. But the conditions that are there in terms of, as you said, that because of this is a pre-existing non-conforming site that was essentially abandoned for 2 years, plus developments that occurred around it. There's now a significant, and it will be shown here graphically in videos and in pictures as to when the weather is rain, that the whole area on the north side floods. And then either from snowmelt or from rain, when it thaws, because it's now shielded, it becomes black ice. And 15, 20 years ago, I was the co-supervisor for TD Bank North and for the Zachary properties. And I supervised the installation of the new sewer line behind or to the east of the existing building. I think when we got to Pleasant Street, we're down to 20. The soils there are absolutely phenomenal, very absorptive. So the problem with the stormwater is impervious surface plus topography. And it's been exacerbated by property development to the north that shifts roof water and their ground level because of elevation changes onto the TD Bank North property. That water then flows onto the Zachary property and floods the Zachary property, creating a hazardous condition on both properties. And having been in the ditch, putting pipe together with the excavator when this guy didn't show up, I think that there's some relatively simple opportunities for fixes here, given that Northfield has decided to improve the pavement. Once you remove the pavement, you now have the opportunity to put underground storage in. And the type that I'm most familiar with is don't use the stone, use a device called an infiltrator. Essentially, it's a large plastic cathedral, so that as compared to stone, it carries 70% more storage capacity in the same area. And with those soils that are there, the engineers can determine how much of an underground chamber there needs to be in order to take this water, and instead of it either staying on the surface or flowing onto the other properties, it goes down into the ground. And I've worked with them for 45 years. We use them for septic drainage fields. We use them as light bottom culverts, and we use them in these circumstances instead of flowing more water off the site. I think it would work well here. We have not engineered that, but it's not literally, it's the type of thing that you take the surface area, you take the amount of water, and look at the pictures, and if Tyler can go.
Yeah, just give me a moment. I'm sorry.
I don't really talk.
Paul, have you looked in all?
Sorry?
Paul, have you looked into any of this?
We are not changing the grading on the site other than, removing that condition in the back there that's been the bad deposited material that's, gonna become grassy again and permeable. At the same time, we're also not removing the pavement. We are resurfacing the top course.
Well, actually, NSB is not. They are a tenant. The owner plans to resurface the parking lot this spring, but that has nothing to do with this project or NSB.
Right. So
I just read what I read from the application, and I thought they were replacing the pavement as compared to resurfacing it. Resurfacing would actually make the condition for the Zachary worse, because you'll be shifting more water onto the lower Zachary property. And
Are you an engineer?
No, I'm the person who employs the engineers, also has the capability of running the machine. I've been doing it since I was 13.
Right.
And I can shoot a site like this with my eye and run the risk of twist on the grader. And it's an art form. But the infiltrators are designed to hold X amount of water times the permeability of the soils. And in a situation like this, where you're in an urban environment with a lot of shade, the best thing in the world is to get the water when it's pouring down off of the impervious surface and get it into the ground. And if you go deep enough, it doesn't freeze. And that then requires, so what's happening here is because of all of the parking, literally all of the surface area, both to the north of the driveway and to the south of the driveway on the north side, all the soils are compacted. And unless you do something to keep people from driving on it, it's going to stay fully compacted. So if you don't use GIS, green infrastructure systems, which are deep, store water, then your landscaping is not going to work. So for example, grass and topsoil freezes under these conditions. And when you look at the pictures, when Tyler gets it, you'll see. So first problem.
Which picture? I'm sorry, Jim, which one would you like me to pull up first here?
Okay, I can't see it. Homeowners can see it. The angle that
Those two links.
These two right here?
Yeah, those should both have.
Okay, perfect. We'll start with the first one then.
When were those pictures taken?
I believe those were taken probably 2008.
Many years ago.
2010.
That's the original condition before the present circumstances, where that chain link fence was. It created a separation between the property to the north and the Northfield Savings Bank. And in beside it, three things occurred. One, access wasn't granted unless you were high jumper going over the fence. And that there was a stormwater collection system to the north of that fence that took all of the water from that structure and absorbed it, because there's no compaction there, into that site. And then, like, I didn't do the primary plowing, but I did the backup plowing when the truck was down. So when I would drive through there, the left-hand side of my plow was throwing snow through the chain link fence at least 3 feet onto that side. The snow then kept that area from freezing, so it did not become impermeable. So there was a tremendous amount of absorption in that area that is now been all excavated out and filled with impermeable material as defined by the state of Vermont. And the elevation has been changed. And then a wall 10 feet tall has been built, which causes drifting. And so now the water.
That's all built on their property.
And you and I can always have the debate. I believe there's a prescriptive easement, which will be decided on by the Superior Court. We're at the Supreme Court now, and we'll be in Superior Court shortly, which has nothing to do per se with the bank. But the conditions that occur on that right of way are hazard to both pedestrian and to the people that are driving in and out. So we're asking the bank, and this is a perfect deal, to sign this, to post it that literally says no parking, no standing, no loading, no unloading. Offenders will be towed as a condition of any approval, because that is the emergency access and the primary access into the back property. There are no parties that have.
You have a written easement with.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
The address to the back
Could we
property
see
is
that?
actually.
Could you submit that written easement to the board?
Yeah, it should be the first link in this word file.
Okay, let me hang on a second here.
I don't make mistakes, David, when I speak, and I have the history. I've been working with this property for 30 years.
So this one right here, good gentlemen? I'm sorry, I'm trying to zoom in. I might have to, this is a little. Ideally, if I get it ahead of time, I can do all this. I may not be able to pull it up much better than.
Why don't you print some of, why don't you print some of this out and we can always take this under advisement or continue this
Okay,
until we've had a chance to review some of that.
if you'd like me to do that, I can print, do you want me to try and print them out now or?
No.
Okay.
We don't have time to do that now.
Yeah, I'd like to read them, but I can't.
When was this all submitted to you?
In here,
Today?
literally right here in the meeting.
We got notice of this 36 hours.
So one thing I can say to this is all the application material, butters letters were all sent out on January 23rd. I can't speak to what the post office did once I gave them the letters. But I sent the notices out, everybody, all the application material to the butters all went out on the 23rd. So I can't say it's why I didn't get it.
And you, I can say. Using the visitor's card, which is wrong. And so there's three parties. There's Lee and Sue Zachary, Pono Zachary, and Essentials, four, and the tenant that all should get notice. The Pono should communicate all that to you. The burden of the notification is on the applicant, it's not on the town. And you need to do a title search in order to make sure you've got the right people to notice. And if notice is defective, it's a problem. But we got the notice. Ultimately, the first thing we did was we notified 23 Pleasant Street's attorney. As soon as we found calls, I sent the information to Paul and I called him. We are not trying to interfere with this application. We have information that they may or may not have had.
Okay, but you've submitted that and you can.
Yeah, well, I'd have to print it off at this point, and if I had gotten it ahead of time, I would have.
Right,
I would
well,
have
that's
posted
fine,
it.
that's fine. Why don't you get that to the board?
Okay, we can print it off. I can print it off and get it. Do you want to do it now or?
No.
One thing I can speak to, at least with the existing conditions on the site. So its existing level of coverage is legally non-conforming, meaning that it can exist in its current state as in perpetuity. But what they're actually doing is making it actually closer to being in line with the town regulations through that slight reduction in impervious coverage. And so again, the current conditions on the site, it's been approved, it's been a bank there for, I guess, since the 70s. So it can exist in its current form and its current use as is in perpetuity.
I would say.
Has the use been discontinued?
I disagree with what Tyler just said. Pre-existing non-conforming conditions.
Well, that's for the board to decide.
More than 24.
Yep, Jim, that's for the board to
I
decide.
understand.
So what I'd like Tyler to do is,
Mr. Stevens.
excuse me, what I'd like Tyler to do is disseminate that information to the board. We'll continue with this and make a decision how we're gonna handle that.
So would you like to, again, so do you want
Make
to?
that decision in a minute.
Okay.
Is there any other, do you have any other comments?
So three things. We need to not have the right of way blocked. We think that they can do that through police action on private property. We need to have freezing conditions addressed. As we've written to them, we think that infiltrators, permeable surfaces, in other words, there are.
We've heard this, Jim, and so.
Didn't hear permeable surface, Dave, but I know what I said. I did not say permeable surface. You can put permeable pavers in instead of pavement. Pavement is impervious. You can put permeable pavement, and that will help with the water. They also do a great job of thawing the ice condition. And just think of it being popcorn. Instead of having a smooth, hard, compacted surface, you have popcorn where the water can go in, and then as it thaws, the water can infiltrate. So second, So we talked about access, accessibility, we talked about impervious surface and absorption. And then third, if in fact, because this is a pre-existing non-conforming site, which was abandoned, that your requirements require a 6-car stack. A 6-car stack with the normal 4-wheel drive pickup trucks and stuff actually blocks the access from Bridge Street and could in fact block the deeded right of way that affords 45 Bridge Street, Comanos's property with access and egress. So we'd like a written accommodation that says in the event that this is blocked, it's okay to use the eastern access off Pleasant Street for either ingress or egress as needed.
I think you're going to a place that
This
the board
application.
doesn't, we don't have jurisdiction over this. I think that.
I think you can make
I
a
think,
condition, Dave.
may I speak, please? I think that this is something that you, as the landowner, or Mr. Zachary, and the landowner that they're working for, need to work on.
Which we have attempted to do.
Just a clarification.
That's between you guys, and that's not something we can take care of.
Yeah, just clarification again, we're not working for the owner, we're working for NSB, who's a tenant of the
I
owner.
know, it gets complicated,
Yeah.
but there's landowners, and it's landowners that make these type of decisions. Not us. And if you can't make decisions, there's other avenues of recourse.
I do think that you have the authority and appropriate for conditional use with high intensity. And then the last thing that I'd like to put on the record is that snow storage, even in a moderate storm, is significant. And that the accesses and egresses need to be kept accessible. And as people talked about the landscaping to keep from damaging, it actually makes it more difficult. We're not trying, we really want them to be here. We want them to be successful. We have no problems with them. But we also want to make sure that it's good for everybody. And we feel this is the one-time opportunity to do this without litigation, without difficulty, and certainly not them tearing up new improvements that could have been done in a different way. And just like we did the sewer, we worked together on a joint basis. We used the same contractors and we used the same experts. So I think that you've got it in writing. If you look at the videos, you will see in the pictures, you'll see the video, the Rodney King type backup for everything that I've said to you tonight.
One thing I think I would point out just to the board is that the scope of this hearing is for site plan review. So conditional use, all those things is not what's before us tonight. So we should bear that in mind, and that the conditions for site plan review would apply for this. They're not going for conditional use review.
Good point.
The use is the same, use is not changing. So really, any of the factors that would go into conditional use review aren't applicable in this instance, because we're only looking at site plan review, which has a much narrower scope.
And in response to Tyler's comments, I think this actually requires a variance.
Variances are only for exceptions to zoning regulations, it's not for uses.
We're getting way far afield here. Is there any other comments from the public?
I'd like to just ask, David, I'm sorry, was there a statement that this was a Rodney King video? That's inappropriate and ridiculous. Let's not do that.
Okay, any other comments from the applicant?
Sherry, anything? Actually, I have one question. This is, I promised the contractor I would ask this. He's working inside, he's putting a mechanical system in now. They'd like to activate the mechanical system, but that means they have to put two 12-by-18 vents in the gable on the north side. Is that anything that can be done at this time, or?
I don't think we even have jurisdiction.
Well, the issue would because it's changing the exterior. I mean, I think with that, because this is one of the few districts where we actually regulate what the exterior looks like. I think on here, are the vents shown on here, or are they not?
They're not. This is something just came.
What
So are these temporary vents?
No, these are vents to vent the heating system.
You could just make that a condition that prior to getting a zoning permit, that for, you know, for that you just provide documentation for where they're gonna go, but I do believe you would probably have to wait until they approve it. If it was replacing something that was already there.
When
I'd
does
say
he
that-
want to do that?
I'm sorry?
When does he want?
Well, they're installing the system now. Originally, the building was going to be heated with air source heat pumps, making it a completely fossil-free building. But there was not sufficient power to run air source heat pumps, so we're back to a propane boiler. So that's what they're working on now, installing this. And they would like to put the vents in so they can start operating this as that's the heating system.
I think you should discuss that with Tyler.
Okay. Yeah, we can. You and me can probably have.
I just want to go to the job meeting tomorrow and say, at least I ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do.
Anything else from the board? Nothing else from the public? What would the board like to do? I think what we have, in my mind, we have two choices here. We can either continue until we've looked at all this. And then bring this up and then open it up back up again. Or we close the hearing, go into deliberative session. And and do that after we've looked at the submittal and go from there.
I mean, I could print it. It wouldn't take me very long.
No,
We don't have time to do that.
I move that we go into deliberative session and review the material then. And it doesn't have to be tonight.
No, it doesn't.
Okay,
Okay.
that would be my motion.
Second,
To clarify, then, if we want to continue the hearing, then what? We haven't had a chance to review the information that's been
and we
submitted.
might have more questions. So we don't want to close the hearing.
If you move it into deliberative, you can close it, you could reopen it. We would have to rewarn it and do all that sort of stuff. Whereas
But
if
if
you
we
continue it.
you're gonna have to reward it anyway.
Not if you continue it to a date certain in here, so then I don't have, I wouldn't have to rewarn it.
So that could be our other option would be to continue it.
If that is, if you considered this information to be germane to a site plan review, not a
We
condition.
won't know until we look at it.
And to the pitfall, so if we go into deliberative now, then choose to continue. Notice requirements.
Yeah, I mean, you can reopen, just everybody would have to be, I would have to notify everybody again and give them the opportunity to participate.
Why don't we, as a
Fine with either.
suggestion, why don't we continue to a date certain next month? And then we look at it, and if it's germane, we can do it, otherwise we close the meeting on that time and make a decision.
If we do that,
Can we be forwarded this information as the applicant?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I literally got it.
Okay.
It should be public, it should become
Right.
public record, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it will be, I'll make sure it's added on to the application material.
How's that, sir?
So just to be clear, we're going to.
Want to make the motion?
Okay, let's continue to what's a month from now, or
So hang on one sec. So Patrick, you're
Propose that
motioning
you move to
continue.
continue to the next month, here, next month's meeting.
Continue to, let me put the actual dates there. Hang on a minute.
Can you shorten that period at all? We're moving along now. Okay.
Unfortunately, that is what it is. That would be March, so that would be March 8th. That could do.
do I have a
At
second on,
7 PM here.
do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Aye.
All right.
David, are you on board with that, or do you have other thoughts?
No, I second it. I'm on board.
Okay,
So Patrick, you did it. Roger second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so
Aye.
we decided to continue the meeting to March 8th. At 7 o'clock. And we'll look at this newly submitted information. And decide by that time whether it's germane to any decision we have to make.
Is there anything else you need from us?
If you want to respond to what's being submitted, we would entertain that.
And you could also submit that event thing, okay, as well. We could just make a minor update to one of the sites.
That would really help them get some temporary heat and spill.
Yeah, I mean, well, the only issue is we'd have to still wait for it to get. Still have to wait for it to get approved before we can pull on, before any permits can be pulled on it. If there's another thing, maybe there's a way I can. I'll have to look more at it to see whether or not that count says change the exterior, if there's some other way I could classify it. If there is, we'll do that. If not, we are where we are.
Energy conservation.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda, last on the agenda is Scott Baker, or
Actually, it's, and there's a typo, it's Scott Strode.
yeah, Strode.
And just as a quick housekeeping note to anybody who's just joined us. If you have not already, please go into the chat and just put your name, address and the item that you're interested on. Although I think if you've made it this far, we can pretty much figure out what that is.
Tyler, in the future, on your agenda, please list not the person who's gonna speak or you think's gonna speak, but the name of the applicant. And
My first name is Wright.
what their, you don't need to go into square footage and all that, but what, whether it's conditional use or site plan or that, this or that, and where it's located. And I think that's all we need.
Okay, sure. If you prefer it simpler, I could do that.
Well, I want the applicant's name. Right now, I don't know from looking at the agenda what each hearing was.
Okay. Well, the numbers correspond to what the actual permit
I
is.
know, but that doesn't tell the public.
Sure, fair enough.
You know, the public looking at this sees Sherry Doane. And it was Northfield Savings Bank.
Right, she was the applicant.
I understand, but the applicant is not the person. The applicant is really the entity.
Okay.
Hi there.
Hi,
How are you?
I am not Scott Strode. That is Scott Strode. Hey, Scott's our client.
And you guys are,
Jason Barnard Jarvis.
My name's Anthony Brown. I'm with Peregrine Design Build.
okay.
And
Swear
Scott,
you in to swear, do you swear affirm, tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but truth?
I do.
we do.
Tell us what you have in mind.
Sure. I'll lead off the meeting. I want to introduce Scott Strode, the landowner. He's up in the top left, and his wife. And their newborn, Scott Baker's below him. He works for me. He was integral part of putting the application together and getting that to Tyler. This is a subdivision amendment to a previously permitted subdivision that was 20 years ago. I think it was 2001 when this was
Done by the planning commission before there was even a DRB.
It was done a long time ago. Scott and his wife purchased lot 21 and lot 22, which were owned by Lotta and Tracy Rosen. They, with the intention of building their dream home on these properties, a couple of houses, one further down the road. Lot 21, I think if you could pull up the overall site plan,
Hang on one sec.
may be the better way to go.
Yeah, sorry, here, get a few, let me clean these out.
This is a residential subdivision.
Yes. And it's already, the lots have already been created. The subdivision is actually permitted and done.
This is what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's a survey plat. Maybe go to the S1. That's a zoom in. There we go. And it's a little bit. We'll start with that. We'll start with the parcels right there, Tyler.
Hear it?
Perfect. Yeah. So lot 21 is the northernmost parcel. You're looking at it with the gray block. 190.5 acres in size. Lot 22 is to the south. 188.8 acres in size. The parcel has been surveyed. It was surveyed as part of the previous subdivision that was approved. During the original subdivision approval, there were 2 building envelopes that were picked out or designated as part of this project. And essentially what we're doing is improving the subdivision by moving the building envelopes to a better location. If Tyler can scroll back up to the survey plat itself, sure that'll suffice.
Next one up.
This one seems pretty.
This one's good. It'll show the details. So
Oh, sorry, guys, hang on a minute. It's a little temperamental.
lot 21, if you Dugway Road is down at the bottom of the drawing, traversing up towards where the signature pages are on the survey plat. There's an existing class 4 road that is now designated as Strode Farm Lane. That road, the base, the impervious area is already there. It has been to a point where you see where the right of way terminates. On the right side, when you cross onto lot 2, that right of way is a deeded right of way over lots 24 and 25 that are owned by the Rosens. Once you cross into or onto Mr. Strode's property, on the right-hand side is lot 21. There is a designated building envelope that's already there. What we did was reconfigure that building envelope and make it slightly larger from the previous subdivision so that it would actually fit better in contour with the land and allow them to more appropriately develop this site at this location with one single-family home and an accessory dwelling or ADU unit. If you continue to go up the road, you look on the upper right left-hand corner near our legend, you see there's an existing building envelope that's to be removed. The road that was proposed originally to go to this building envelope wraps around the south end of the building envelope. It's shown on a previous set of plans by Champlain Consulting Engineers, and it basically, the road stops at a 20-foot vertical cliff. And the building envelope is situated on top of a knoll that's not accessible to anything, really, maybe a heliport.
I hiked up there and we found it. It's I would consider it completely unbuildable.
Yeah. Originally at the start of the project, we went out with our survey stuff, where our survey GPS gear rotated the original site plan onto state plane grid, staked out the building envelope, and it's accurate. That's what was approved. So essentially what we're doing is we're shortening the driveways by 1,000 feet or more, designating a new building envelope in an area on lot 22 that's buildable, and that's what you see on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. And as part of 22, we've also picked out, or Scott and Kate have picked out a second building envelope, which is near the top of the drawing for an accessory dwelling unit that would be on lot 22 as well. So the intensity or increasing the use is really very slight. These two lots were already permitted for 2 single-family homes. There's an Act 250 permit on the project that addresses deer yards, prime ag soils. We've been out there to do a wetland delineation. We've had the wetlands consultant out as well. The wetlands are shown, they're GPSed in. All the new infrastructure is proposed to avoid those. And as part of our process, we've also have a prime ag soil mitigation plan that we have approved with the ag department, because that's usually one of our tougher hurdles when we're talking about Act 250. So we do have that with email correspondence from the commission from ag.
Why are you in Act 250?
Property's already in Act 240.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they already have jurisdiction.
Yeah, the Act 250 was issued, the subdivision came first, and then obviously this fell under Act 250. Given the vintage, it probably was because of the length of the road.
Yeah, 800 feet.
It was over 800 feet. And actually, shorten this up, it decreases the impervious area. We are into what's going to be a rebuild of the road. It's going to trigger stormwater permit and erosion control, which that's been started and is underway. We have been in discussions with the Rosen. If you scroll through the drawings and maybe get to the one below this one, Tyler.
Right here?
Nope. Keep one more down. I think it's going to be better.
This one?
Keep going.
Same one.
Nope, I guess back up.
Was this the new stuff you sent?
That was not the new stuff. No, this was our drawing, which are detailed. They show the limits of disturbance. They have the silt fence. What we did email to Tyler last night, or yesterday afternoon, is the stormwater plan. It's not 100% finished yet. We wanted to basically get to the point where we could present this to the DRB. So if there were any changes, the stormwater engineer wouldn't have to remodel the site and do this thing twice. I don't know if you can pull up the stormwater
Yeah, it would just be the email attachment.
email attachments. Yep. So there's already a previous design that was done on the road. One of the big ticket items that we looked at,
Would you want driveway profile or maintenance agreement?
driveway profile.
Hang on a second.
There you go.
I just have to download it so I can actually open it.
I have a hard copy if that's easier for you
It
guys.
might be easier for someone to look at, but Brad Washburn of Tailwater Engineering is doing the stormwater on this. He has come up with there was a road design that was originally done at 13.5%. 1.5% over the new regulations, so the new road design is at 12%. It meets the requirement. And the previous road design just had cross culverts dumping out onto the Rosen property. We did meet with the Rosens about that. They were the ones who paid the engineers to do the design. And we met with them, myself, AJ and Brad, to say that the design is just gonna dump water on your property. If you look at what's happening here, there's a couple of the blue areas are going to be bioretention areas that Brad is designing now. We're looking to capture the stormwater that's on that road and send it to another bioretention area that's on the north side of their pasture. Because currently with the road where it is, it's running down the access road and it spills right across their lawn, and it goes right across. There's a 15-inch culvert that dumps water out through their barn, right where the animals are. It's not a good situation.
So it goes right through the horse paddocks, picks up whatever's manure and then dumps right into the river.
And I mean,
After going through the horse paddock.
Yeah,
after going through the horse
exactly.
paddocks. So
Which isn't what anybody wants.
in a sense here, what Scott has done and with this is do the right thing and update the design to the new standards. Brad's had discussions with the stormwater folks, Michael Sadler on this one. And Brad's come up with a solution. We're still waiting on some final tuning with the grades around the houses so we can get everything to flow to the treatment points, but each area will have its collection point with bioretention. So that's just sort of that's a new thing. Scott and his wife they purchased this property and could have constructed 2 homes right where they were permitted. However, they, decided to improve the situation both for themselves and the Rosens. And they're going to spend a lot of money to bring this driveway up to the current standards with the town. And they've even taken one step beyond to improve the lower part. If you can, you won't really be able to see it, but the lower part of the road where the driveway, and AJ can point to it, that's actually, we've widened that to 24 feet. So that complies with B71 standards at the intersection of the road. Before it was a steep shot to get up in there. So
That's existing, right?
the road's there. The
curb cuts there.
The curb cuts there, and we actually have a curb cut approval that we applied for last fall because we had to slide the driveway a little bit north to provide some buffer to the Rosens. That was issued by the select board, I believe, last October or November.
The Rosens don't use this.
That's the Rosens do. That's their driveway.
That's their driveway.
Yeah.
Just their house is right here.
Yep.
So they pull in and park here actually and pull into
Yep.
the parking unit here. So technically widening this lower stretch will allow for access to their property as well as
Yeah.
now transitioning to a driveway as opposed to a road to access the 3 lots.
up top. So it's a shared drive. Originally, your minimum driveway standards are 14 feet wide. We started with 16 and then Brad landed on 15 to keep the impervious area, and project probably knows more, but for the redevelopment credits that they get when there's already existing impervious. So he wanted to try to match that surface as best he could with what's there. But there is, the road's gonna have to be lowered to meet that 12% standard because it's steep getting up in there so far. And there's gonna be some walls on the upper side that'll hold back what's there. The overall, it's an improvement, what I consider to be a significant improvement to what was in the original application. If Tyler just wants to scroll back to
The original one?
the original, yeah, we can,
The juggles.
if everyone, you want to show the board the profile?
Yeah,
Yes. So this is kind of how this started in a certain extent, is that initially I noticed that we had approved the road, but there was a section of the driveway which was 13% and not 12, which was the maximum.
And that within the distance to the house.
Yeah, not within the distance of the house. And the issue we ran into is that the reason it was okay was that whoever did it kind of missed the fact that there was that section that was 13% initially, or they looked at it in aggregate and saw that the whole thing will average out to be 12, but there was a section that was 13. And the issue would be is if they kept trying to, let's say if they wanted to subdivide or do different things up there, it would keep bringing the driveway back into question, kind of like what we had with the Cochrans.
Yeah, and
Be a lot more enjoyable too in the winter.
and be a lot easier. We're actually, there's gonna be we're designing a pull off so that, you can see people coming up the hill. Or Brad's doing the pull off design, but yeah, to expand a little bit on what Tyler was saying is that original design that was done by Champlain Consulting Engineers was 13.5%. The drainage wasn't taken into account because it was done before water regulations, and they had about 6 cross culverts that were just dumping over a 15% slope onto the road. So what Brad's come up with here is a much better.
Hang on one sec, sir. I can mute whoever's.
Fortunately, this results in about 600 feet of cut. About 10.
Patrick, I'm gonna.
So this is a significant
Wow.
amount of material. I mean, if there was any way that we could get less of a higher percentage approved as part of the original road design or approval, that would help. Obviously, we're all trying to do the right thing here, but it's coming.
A lot of work for 1%. Is
It's
that?
a lot of work for 1%, and also what it's going to require, sorry, not to jump in, but what it's going to require and what it's unearthing, no pun intended, is that in order to stabilize the uphill bank, we're gonna have to build retaining walls on the uphill side, and then have the ratio for bank stability going off of the top of that. So that obviously is something that is an additional feature that we're gonna have to build and put in place, but also will be visible.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Clearing then too. I mean, it's.
Yeah, it's cleared now. The right of way, they've actually, they cleared it. I mean, Agent, we were directed, we started the construction of the road, applied for the access permit last summer. Scott and Kate, could have went up there and put the road in because it was approved as part of the previous subdivision. So they could have put it in at 13.5%. And built the 2 houses. One of them, they'd have to climb up a 20-foot ledge to get to their house. The other one is in the same building envelope that's there already. We just reconfigured it a little bit. But they wanted to do the right thing. And the other thing is they'd like to have accessory dwelling units, which does intensify the use, which then we're getting outside of the original 2 single-family homes. So in talking with Tyler, that's that's the reason behind the road upgrades that are required.
Yeah, and just not to speak on Scott Stroh's behalf, but I guess that's why I'm here. The intention for the property is a family property. It's these outbuildings, accessory dwelling buildings, the homes are not, for any, monetary end game renting or Airbnb or commercial use. It's for them and their family and their friends to come and stay and enjoy Vermont and, outdoor pursuits and.
So when we have big parcels like these, it begs the question, is there any other development planned, or do you have a master plan?
There's no master plan. It's already in Act 250. Deer yards have been taken into account, prime ag soils, steep slopes. I gotta be honest with you. I don't see I don't see much further development with this property to get through Act 250.
Because of topography or because of the
Wetlands, deer yards, prime ag soils, topography, forested areas. I mean, it's in Act 250, so it's got to meet the criteria. So it's with it outside of the ADUs. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I know, the best person to ask, and I wanted to have you guys meet Scott Stroh. He's on Zoom right now, but Scott, I believe what's proposed right now is your vision for the property, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys hear me all right? Yep. So what you see there is really, kind of our vision for the property. It's a big parcel, and we want to sort of maintain as much of the sort of pristine wilderness that's already there. And so where we picked those building envelopes, we thought was the least impactful spots. The original building envelope, as these guys are talking about, we probably would have had to blast a bunch. It would have been a big scar on the mountainside to get anything up there. And so bringing it down a little bit lower made sense. We want it to be a multi-generational sort of property where, we give it to our kids, they give it to their kids. My wife has a bunch of siblings. I have a bunch of siblings, to have our whole families be up there at one time and just enjoy the place and for Kate and I to retire there once I run a national nonprofit, and we do work in Vermont helping people in recovery from addiction and all across the country. But, I fell in love with it as we launched our program there, and I'd love to retire there and have family be able to come up and visit. So our goal is to preserve the land as best as possible. And I think these building sites do that. And also what AJ talked about with the road, to build a road that really will, exist over time and be thoughtful of the Rosens below us. And also be a little bit easier to get up in the winter.
Yeah.
We'll call it a driveway because that's how it's being classified.
Yeah.
Is it?
Driveway.
It is or was a class 4 road?
It's still, it is, it was designated as a class 4 road. I think I saw an old town map that was part of the original Act 250 application. It was Town Highway 27.
Yeah, had to be renamed. Long story short, it had to be renamed because of the other lots that were up there. E911 for E911 purposes, it's a road. For town purposes, it's not. It's a class 4 road, but it's not really a road per
Do you
se.
need the town's permission to fix up the class 4 road?
Nope, because the town doesn't maintain it. You can just fix it.
I believe it.
Because the Cochrans have something similar on their property. They have Town Highway 25, which turned into Cochrane Way. Because there's some hunting camps and stuff up further up
On the ski area.
and ski area. Yeah, so it's kind of the same.
I
Kind
already
of the
fought
same
that
deal.
one.
And we met with the select.
Yeah, you
board
remember that.
when the road cut. I mean, I would assume they would have said you need to do that as well. So they've seen the original. They actually saw the original plans at 13.5%. And we shifted the driveway 30 feet north just to provide Rosens with a little buffer. The previous engineer, when he designed it, the driveway would have cut off their front lawn. They would have come out their house and it would have been a steep shot. So it's
In effect, will you be rerouting the class 4
Now it's
portion?
gonna go right up, it's gonna
Gonna
go.
follow it and then go,
Follow right through
Yeah.
that right away, and it's gonna, basically that terminates, there's a crossing that was designed for a stream that has a culvert that was sized, and right at the end of that is where the road terminates.
There's only one way to.
There's, yeah, that is the way.
It just ends.
That's what it shows on the tax maps, and that's what that's what was shown on the survey. Our company didn't officially do the boundary survey, but it was surveyed as part of the previous subdivision by Dave Peatman, who's a licensed surveyor. And
Yeah, I
he showed
guess
the,
just to reiterate a little bit, as part of the Act 250 amendment in moving the kind of the unbuildable building envelope down to a more reasonable place. The road that was designed in part and approved as part of the original Act 250 permit continued across the whole top of the property and up into the woods and up to that up to that former building envelope. So all of that work that was approved now no longer has to be done.
yeah, we shortened it by.
So we're
500.
showing it by a significant amount in making this change. The main initial section of the driveway, essentially to get up the hill from Dugway Road, we were started on that with tree clearing. We had an approved, permit to go. I had mobilized Island Excavation, one of our trusted, trade partners to start building. We had a contract with Scott. And, it essentially came to light that, if we wanted to make any changes to the property buildable envelopes, that the town of Richmond would be wanting that road design to be.
It would just constantly keep bringing it up.
Yeah.
So that would be
Brought
the
into
issue. So
compliance,
once
so.
it's again, and it's up to, it leaves it open to interpretation, right? Or one, we ran into an issue before where some zoning administrators in the past have allowed for driveways that have exceeded the standards. And then ones that have been previously non-conforming were said, nope, you have to now bring it into compliance, and just fixing it kind of nips that issue.
And to be clear, the
coming up again.
previous road was designed with 5 or 6 feet of cut, because it was going from 14 to 15% to 13.5%. We're just bringing it down to comply with the new standards. And also important to mention in this discussion, the wastewater application has been submitted. We actually have a permit for lot 21, the WW permit that was done last year. Because originally, when we started, we were going to keep the driveway as designed and build the first house on lot 21 in the approved building envelope. So we're going to that permit is being amended to include the ADU now, and we're applying for a separate WW permit for lot 22. So because these two parcels they're separate, we're doing 2 wastewater permits, 1 for each lot. But it does cover both ADUs. It also covers both single-family homes. And mentioned before, based on the results of the meeting, the stormwater engineer is ready to proceed with the stormwater permitting. And we've actually, Scott Baker of our office has just about taken the Act 250 permit amendment to 85% completion. So everything hinges on local approval and stormwater.
Any other questions from the board?
how'd it get to be lot 21?
Is
there a big subdivision somewhere?
There was. So if you look on the existing property survey that was done by Peatman, there was a subdivision that was done in the 90s. And then there's a road out to the north. There was, maybe David knows, but I'm not sure which one it is, but Rosen's, they're 24. They have 25, which is to the north of them with their pasture. 21, 22, 23, there's a parcel to the south, and then it may have been the lot count that actually triggered the Act 250 quadrant. So there's another 5 or 6 lots out to the north. So
Going up
Not up this road,
No,
no,
they're all
that
along
comes off Dugway.
Dugway.
Yeah, these are the only two.
That's Dugway.
This is all Dr. Paquette's farm.
This was Dr. Paquette's farm, yes, and this was done, either the length of the road triggered it or the number of parcels, but. There was,
I know I represented a butter in the Act 250 appeal to the E court at some point. There was an Act 250 appeal. And I know I pushed the environmental judge up the hill as we did a site visit.
oh, so you've been,
Meredith Wright.
yes. So you've been up there and seen the property then?
It was years ago.
Yeah.
No, those look beautiful.
Oh, it's Scott, I mean, that's a spectacular
That
piece of
gets into
property.
the pastures that Dr. Paquette used to have there.
It's like the Sound of Music. That's what they always kept saying when,
Is the driveway gated?
no,
It can't be if it's a class 4.
yeah, and it's.
That's what I assume, but it happens.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I believe the intent, Scott, is not, you're not planning to gate the bottom of the road, correct?
No,
And so if it's a driveway to his personal properties, what is why not?
It's a class 4 road. I don't see how you
It's
can
a,
gate
it's
it.
a, yeah, I mean, it's a
Okay.
public right of way, so I think you would be,
I guess they'd have to get that more legal, they'd have to get that thrown up with the town, right?
Yeah, because it is technically, it's a road.
But technically, it's, from what we've seen with our research, it's on the Peatman survey as a class 4 road. I mean, projects that I've worked on in the past, they'd have to petition the select board to throw it up, and then that wouldn't be a public right of way. So that can be done at another later date.
So if it's a class 4 road and it could be a public right of way, then, I mean, there's two, it's basically gonna serve 2 lots.
It ends internal to those lots. It doesn't go to any other parcel.
But those lots have to, and I can't tell from looking at that picture, but that road crosses both lots.
Yes.
So the owner of lot, I can't remember which 22, would have to have a right of way, a recorded right of way.
Yeah.
And be able to use that road.
Correct. There's a 50-foot.
21.
Correct. There's a 50-foot deeded right of way already in place, and that's shown on the survey.
No, he's saying of 22 and
I'm
21.
Yeah, but if they're.
Which is the same owner.
If they're in common ownership, you can't have a right of way until they're separated.
Well, you can, yeah, but you can have
That I don't know, but
the point is that if you have 2 different lots. And the access to one of those lots. Crosses the other lot,
Yeah,
then. You still have to have a right of way for the lot. That is the subservient or the benefiting lot.
so is that something that Scott
No.
could write up for?
There
himself?
actually is, there's 50-foot right of way that's on
They can be sold.
deeded, it's on the survey, it's on the plat. If you want to go to the plat, Tyler,
just note that
I gotta reshare these.
I don't know that it is a class 4 highway anymore.
it may not be, I mean,
Because
that's,
the towns had to identify them all, like that was like 15, 20 years ago.
right.
It's mapped on the
Oh,
V-Trans
What would you? I'm
mileage
sorry,
map.
is this the one you'd like me to
It's
pull
a
up?
Trail.
What's that, Patrick?
The most, 2019 or so V-Trans map shows it as a trail.
Would you like
As a
this?
trail, okay,
it may
so
cease to be a-
maybe it
May
was,
not be a 4 anymore.
it may not be a class 4 road.
Yeah.
And that's fine, that would, and I believe I'm gonna answer Roger's question, but are you referring to the easement that goes over lots 20? The easement actually goes over lots 24, 25, and you'll see the right of way is the dash line.
So sorry, guys, but this is 24 and 25.
Those are the roads.
These are
Yeah.
the roads,
Right.
and this is the border, and then this is 21 and 22. A big parcel that's almost.
Right, and Scott has a deeded easement to his property. across the
There's a
road.
right of
Yes, he
way
does.
that goes up to
Yes.
this Trail.
Yes,
And then once we get, past it, we got a property.
Yeah.
Then it can be driveway on 1. house that already had an approved building envelope that we're just kind of reforming and making samples. And then we're in the new driveway going to a new
building on.
building envelope that is coming down from the mountain.
So Roger brings up an interesting point in that you're presenting us with a 2-lot subdivision.
Amendment.
Doesn't matter.
Right, but if they were ever, right now, they're in common ownership.
Mhm.
So you can't have a right, you don't have a right of way legally if they're in common ownership. But if they ever get separated, lot 21 would need, or lot 22 would need an easement over 21.
And vice versa, right?
Well, I'm not sure because I can't see, but the point is that you have to
Make some sort of.
create a declaration of easement of some kind in order to
case
give
that
any
happens.
future owner of the benefiting a lot, the one that benefits from the easement across the other lot and wherever this thing falls. I mean, you did a road agreement, a maintenance agreement, and when you talk about the road and the maintenance agreement, I presume you're talking about the road from beginning, that is from Dugway to where it ends at the cliff. Or wherever.
Well, where it's gonna end.
Right, so the maintenance of that road is gonna be clearly on those two lots of those 2 lots. So you've separated those 2 lots and you defined their individual requirements as the maintenance. But you also have to give them each the right to get there.
Well, you should present us with language, I think, for the easement. If they're ever separated, they're ever no longer in common ownership.
You can't have a declaration of easement when you have 2 lots, even though they're in common ownership. How do you create an easement then?
When they're sold.
I mean, they wouldn't need an easement right now under the same ownership. They have an easement,
Right.
they haven't. So Scott and Kate have an easement over lots 24 and
I'm not
25.
concerned about those lots. I'm concerned about the relationship between 21 and 22.
So
is
can
it-
I ask a question? When, if that situation arised, obviously there would be a purchase offer with, an attorney, a real estate attorney, you're representing each, the seller and the potential new buyer. Wouldn't, at that point in time, if that situation
Yeah,
arises, wouldn't
But
that?
you're coming before us for a 2-lot subdivision, which is right now you're going to keep them in common ownership. And what we're looking for, what we're thinking about is the time when they're no longer in common ownership.
But my point is that suppose they didn't do that, or suppose the attorney wasn't paying any attention. Well, all of a sudden you have a guy living on lot 22 that doesn't have
You're right,
a right to get there, a recorded right of way.
right.
So, here we are in the process of approving a change in the subdivision. And one of the changes we should consider is the right of owners of those properties to get there.
Yeah. So
And
could
that-
it be a note that's added?
I mean,
that
can-
says-
That could be a condition, that could be in a condition of the approval that.
I'm just saying that this is what.
Yeah,
No, that's a good- that-
we'd be
that'd
happy to add that, some language that, represents that as a, condition of the approval. And, it's that, it's between myself and myself.
Yeah. it is.
Cause, but we can add the language if that would.
You have a big family, and who knows?
Yeah.
Roger.
Yeah.
I did have a question though. Wouldn't that just be impacted if they sold it? They would have to come up with the right of way agreement to sell the property?
Well, maybe not.
Yeah, I would believe so. And we have no plans to do that, but we're happy to represent that in documentation to you guys that if we do ever sell.
Have to or not.
I think that was the point that you made.
Yeah.
But we don't know that will happen.
Well, I think they were required to obtain a right of way when they bought these 2 lots because they need to access them from through other people's owned lots, so.
Again, I
You
can't.
know,
I mean, the right of way was there. It was part of the original survey plat. It was in the deed from Rosen that they have that. But I see what you're saying, Roger. I mean, that's a pretty simple, agreement right now, like Scott said, between himself and himself.
Yes, but it can actually be part of the road maintenance agreement.
It could.
I mean, it can just be a paragraph of the road maintenance agreement that says that there's a mutual. We call them, I come from, we call them common driveway.
Sure. It could even be on the plat. I mean, it could be on the
slash.
survey
I'm
plat.
not saying that if you follow that, or if you have it as part of the agreement, then it's there, and then you don't have to worry about it.
So is that acceptable to the board to add that to the road maintenance agreement?
I think it'd be a great idea.
Perfect.
Okay, so add to road.
And that could be a condition of permit.
You can just state in the event.
What do you mean? Don't tell her, right? All right.
Yeah, we
So-
can do that.
Evan, and you can answer this for me, Tyler, I think. Tell me about the requirements for an accessory dwelling unit.
Yes, so the accessory dwelling units are capped at either 75% of the habitable floor area of the principal dwelling or 1,000 square feet, whichever is less, which given the size of the building envelopes, I'm assuming 1,000 square feet is going to be the less.
And inform me about the restrictions on use of an acceptable dwelling unit.
A use, there are no restrictions on
There are
it.
no restrictions, so.
You can rent it, you can do whatever you want with it, yep.
And they don't have, they could be detached as
They
well.
do not have to be
This one is
attached, yep.
definitely
They do not have to
There's
be.
one there
attached.
that they're both actually detached. The one on lot 21 is part of the is part of the barn, the workshop, the garage. So
Yep, the only kicker is they have to be owner occupied. So the trick is if they're owned, I believe if it's owned by the same person, or what you may have to do is lot 21 owner occupied for this, lot 22 owner occupied for that. So that way you can kind of, it's not all owned by one person. It's kind of technically owned by two people. So that way you have one principal structure and an ADU,
so you
another principal structure.
and just to expand on that. So currently what AJ and his staff have been working on are the two single family homes. The ADU unit for lot 22 is just a visual representation in the building envelope. They don't actually have a floor plan or anything developed.
We loosely started with a building floor plan and massing for essentially what would be, the initial structure on the property, almost like a barn dominium, like a garage with an apartment above. And I think that is gonna ultimately hold fast. We might scale it down a little bit in size and scale to meet that 1,000.
Yep, that would be the
50. But
that would be the only thing I think to
We're gonna
look
have
at.
to make a decision, because we still got to go into executive.
You guys are gonna be here all night.
Well, we don't want to. You guys have anything
I
else?
did warn them ahead of time.
We
It was gonna
don't,
be long.
we wanted to summarize.
This is a preliminary, so you gotta come back to us.
No,
No, this is
final.
it.
This is final.
Yeah, this is fine.
That's just an amendment.
It's amendment.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So essentially, we're in the process of applying for stormwater, wastewater was submitted last week. And once we have all those balls, we have to submit Act 250 at the end because they want to have all the other approvals first.
Is there anything that the board can think of that we want?
I'm just thinking the easiest.
Just that language.
Waiver?
Do you wanna
You can ask them right now. Yeah.
So what I could do,
do this?
But this,
Oh, hold on, one- Can we,
well, I was just
So
gonna
we can
say,
make that as a condition.
Make
Yeah.
it as a condition,
Okay.
but let's just make it a condition.
Okay.
so we are trying to get our ducks in a row so that we can continue work on this road, this driveway, and access the property for this coming building season, albeit it will be late in the summer. But I guess in light of the volume of cut and what that will look like in actuality, if there is any opportunity to ask for a waiver for a change in grade of any magnitude, and I'm only saying that because I'd be recluse to not ask. That would,
You can definitely ask.
that would help and probably help in terms of, you know, feet of cut and many cubic tons of.
You can't waive it. It would have to be a kind of a la Cochran's. Again.
Oh,
It would have to be, it would have to be a variance.
But yeah, you know, to do that.
And again, with that.
You don't want to do that, you don't want to do that.
It's a very high bar, so it's not just like, okay, we hear you, so you'd have to prove. that,
Basically,
you know,
it's impossible to develop the property with, and with cost can't be an object. It's physically impossible to develop the property.
Even though
conformity.
even though a 13.5% slope was approved before.
It's because you're changing it. Like I said, it can exist
I'd
as
say-
it is.
You know, you can check out the criteria for that and see if you want to put on some evidence.
Take a
It's
shot.
it's
Yeah.
a high bar.
But
So
we,
you're
if you want to do that, we're going to continue this.
right.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do it tonight.
Yeah,
And for us to prove that, we would have to come before you and that would have to be.
so do you mind if I just check in with real quick on that?
Hang on one second. Let me just stop sharing so you can actually see him.
Scott, as I understand it, you know, the intention was to come in at a 12% and meet the town standards. And you know what that means from our meeting yesterday as far as cut, and, you know, we don't know what that means in terms of cost, but healthy probably.
Significant.
The only other option would be, I guess there is an option to ask for a
You have to request the variance.
so request a variance for a change, but that puts us certainly into next month's meeting if
I can
if that.
give a quick summary of what's required, if that's helpful.
That'd be great.
Sure.
I mean, Tyler hit it. but-
Yeah, I'm getting it here.
So there are unique physical circumstances or conditions, including irregularity, narrowness, yada, yada, yada. That were, you know, that are due to the, you know, physical conditions of the land and not anything that the applicant did. You didn't box yourself into a corner. You have to hit all of these. Because of these physical circumstances, there's no possibility that the property can be developed in strict conformity with the provisions of the zoning regulations. So Tyler said it's not a question of cost. The unnecessary hardship has not been created by the applicant. And this is easier if the variance, if authorized, shall not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. And that the variance, if authorized, shall represent the minimum variance. So, you know, again, I think Tyler hit the main piece there, and do have to hit them all, is that it's impossible. It's not physically possible, like, you know, saying like, hey, I can't meet the setback, so I go back any further, I'm gonna hit the river and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you can pursue it, but
Well, I mean, our hope is to be able to get up there and build a house. So, you know, I feel like going forward with this design that's in front of you and getting this approved and being able to, you know, start building it is probably the best course of action. You know, as these guys mentioned, we could have built a 13% grade road already, and we chose not to because we want to be stewards of the land. You know, I think there's some balance in being a steward of the land by not having to gouge out quite so much of it. But to get to that 12% grade, you know, it's going to be more noticeable. And as you go by it, so it's something we got to do, you know, apparently, to really kind of match today's standards. So, you know, we'll go forward with it, I guess. And hopefully I got a little bit left to build a house at the end of that road. Once we do this pretty elaborate driveway. So, we'd love to get it, you know, get this sort of approved so we can move forward contingent on that language about the right of way, which we can easily do.
Okay. 25 years of zoning permitting or more. I've never received a variance on it, so it's
almost impossible.
It's almost impossible.
Okay, I just wanted to ask. If there was something, it's like, hey, there was 100-foot cliff. It's gonna.
Yeah.
I think you had said it's a little up for.
And that's the thing,
whatever,
I always advise people, it's just like, don't put yourself in a position where just because I interpret it one way,
Yeah.
if 10 years down the line, I'm not here and somebody else is here and you change it. So, oh, no, now you have to, now you have to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it's if you know about it ahead of time and.
And that's essentially why we stopped in our tracks and are redesigning.
Exactly.
and,
Would have
so,
been just two houses and no ADUs and it wouldn't have fit Scott's vision for the
No.
property. So.
All right, so we're
Anything else from the applicant?
gonna move on.
Anything else from the public? Nobody's left.
they've all gone.
Warm all out. Okay, what would the board like to do?
Make a motion to approve with the condition regarding the
Cross easement.
cross easements.
To be added to the road maintenance.
Road maintenance agreement. That's
Second,
second.
Second.
all in favor?
Fine.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
There.
Thank you, David.
hey,
so there.
Still,
Okay, we'll try to get a decision to you and you'll need to, that decision will have a condition that you submit to us.
Yep.
That way.
and that'll be easy. We'll get the attorney on it.
He'll be able to.
And were you guys okay with the other one I had on there, just documenting, most of it you'd have to do anyways to build it, but just the height of, just confirmation of what the heights. of the
That's
building
something
would be.
we've already checked, we're gonna be well.
That would, I'll put it in there, but you'd
Yeah.
have to do it anyways, but.
Yeah.
And AJ can provide all the elevation drawings when
Do
the.
you need those drawings?
I would need that for just the zoning permit, so you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Okay, because the one house is years down the road.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
That's when, we haven't even
It
started,
would- You would deal with it when you would come to build it, that you
Got it.
have to provide
so
it.
nothing. to
No,
do.
you don't have to do it now.
Yeah. Great.
Perfect.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
Really appreciate you
Welcome.
guys
Good luck.
staying late. and-
Yeah, you could have put me on 1 and 2. though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I was trying to do an order of fun.
No, that,
You didn't say whether it was more or less.
I pulled the agenda today. I was like, oh, boy, 1 and.
Well, it
2.
was just, it was
Make it
weird.
for last
January,
month,
nobody
and then-
applied, and then everybody had the bright idea, the idea to apply at the same time.
Oh, thank you very much.
Still does what I say, which is better than you have coming to us in June wanting to build
Yeah,
that
in
season.
August, yeah.
Yeah. No.
Oh, yeah, we've been on this for a while.
Yeah, well, we
We're
went
good
back,
there.
well, that's how I got up to speed on it, because I couldn't even find, like, it was. Long story short, the parcel files didn't quite match up.
There's a
And that's
long
the
history
process
on
I'm
that
trying to
project
change it.
with that
Yeah.
the Act 250 application is.
Well, hopefully, you either know of us or heard of Peregrine, but we do things correctly and we're gonna build, nice homes and Scott's been with us, backing us up the whole way and trying to do the right thing, so we're gonna.
No, you guys, it's a good application.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks for staying up late. I'll bring more coffee next time I come to one of these things.
Thanks, Scott. We'll talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Okay.
I'll entertain a motion to close and go into deliberative session. So moved.
Okay.
So, motion
All in
for.
favor?
Aye.
Roger, second.